poop in the tub. I'm not gonna poop in the tub.
So considering my last video on Sakurai was a hit, I've decided to make another commentary video with him revealing Terry. And of course, Nintendo's YouTube channel calls him Mr. Sakurai like he's a fictitious wrestling character. But let's cut to the chase. I know you guys have little time to waste.
皆さんこんにちは。
And of course, the first thing we ever see is Sakurai.
Hello everyone, this is Masahiro Sakurai from Sora Limited. The Super Smash Bros. Ultimate game was recently honored with 5 awards at this year's Japan Game Awards. It's received a great many awards on top of that as well. Each award is very meaningful to me.
You? Wow.
So I would like to take the opportunity to extend my thanks to all those who have voted and to all those who have supported us.
Oh, so there are other people working with you? Okay. He is extremely confusing.
Thank you so much. Without further ado, let's begin the presentation. First, we'll start with what the Neo Geo is.
No, we don't. The Neo Geo was only a chapter in SNK's life. They have also made games on Nintendo, Sega, and Sony consoles at the same time they supported Neo Geo. Why not talk about Terry? You know, the reason why we're all here?
It refers to a 1990 video game console for use in arcades and at home, as well as to the name of the system itself. In 1990, the equivalent to the Super NES had only just released in Japan, so if you wanted to play arcade games at home before then, the only option was to play the less polished ports on the Nintendo Entertainment System. However, with the Neo Geo system, you could play the arcade versions of games at home with no drop in quality.
Is this a video about Terry, or an infomercial for Neo Geo? So far the Switch, the console that he has talked about the last in this series.
1990 was right around the year that I started working for a game company. Back then, Japan had rental services for arcade games. In other words, you could go to a rental store, rent an arcade game, take it home, and play it. After that, they were sold for home use, but a single game would cost about 30,000 yen. That's expensive. But if you think about it, compared to playing a game in the arcade 300 times at 100 yen per play, you're getting your money's worth. At the time, some people actually thought this was cheap. I mean, there really are people who've played games in the Super Smash Bros. Series 1,000 or even 10,000 times. Anyway, the MVS, as it was called then, was sold in various places, and for an arcade machine, it wasn't all that expensive. You could also get them on lease.
Wow, I so need to know this. I just have to think that Sakurai loves hearing himself talk.
That's why you'd end up seeing lots of candy stores having a Metal Slug cabinet. The home version of the Neo Geo came with this controller. Can you see? It has 4 buttons. And this is the actual console itself. Here is the reset button, and here you slot in the big game cartridges. This is the Neo Geo? Just kidding. Actually, this is the Neo Geo X, the portable version that was released afterward. You could also insert it into this docking station and play it as a home console. Beat Nintendo Switch to it! A portable, multi-purpose console. Updated iterations of past systems are emblematic of the Neo Geo.
No, we need to learn more about the color and the cartridges and the games. What were they? Do they also have any 4 buttons?
Next, let's talk about what Fatal Fury is. It released in 1991, the same year as Street Fighter II, but this one came later. It launched after Street Fighter II. Like many of the other fighters, Fatal Fury was often regarded as a title that was developed to capitalize on the popularity of Street Fighter II, but that's not really the case. Actually, both Street Fighter II and Fatal Fury were developed using the original Street Fighter as a foundation. In fact, the development of Fatal Fury was started by one of the planners of Street Fighter. Did I just hear you say wow?
Even Sakurai's subordinates don't care about this. So he's talked more about a console than he's talked about the character's own series.
This one is also a multiplayer-focused fighting game. In this story, someone named Jeff Bogard is killed by Geese Howard. Geese Howard starts up a fighting tournament in Southtown, which he runs. To avenge his father's death, Terry enters the tournament, which is known as King of Fighters. I mentioned the term King of Fighters, something you may have heard before. Yes, there's actually a popular series called The King of Fighters, and that series was named after the fighting tournament within the world of Fatal Fury. And Terry Bogard, who is the protagonist of Fatal Fury, also appears in all the games in the King of Fighters series as one of the main characters. If you want to play a game from either of the Fatal Fury series or the King of Fighters series, many of them are available now on Nintendo Switch as part of the Arcade Archive series. You may not know which one to play first, but my recommendation from the Fatal Fury series would be Fatal Fury Special. From the King of Fighters series, my recommendation would be the King of Fighters 95. But if you want to play a fighting game with all sorts of strategic elements, then I recommend the King of Fighters 98.
So, turn off Smash Brothers and play King of Fighters on Switch, am I right?
Next, I'll give you some insight on Terry Bogard. Actually, this video was recorded about 1 month prior to its release. That's because we need to translate and edit videos like this one, and that takes time. The game footage you see here is not from the final production ROM, so please understand that there may be some elements that differ from the final game. Since we have the opportunity, I want to talk about Terry using a lot of SNK lingo, meaning in this discussion the younger generations may feel a little out of the loop. But there's nothing to worry about. When we released the original Nintendo 64 version of Super Smash Bros., I was often asked, who is Samus? Whether or not the character is fun to play as is more important than whether the character is new or old, or whether the character is recognizable to everyone.
This basically confirmed he was full of shit when he said that Nintendo's responsible for choosing the characters. Such bullshit. Because do you actually think executives or shareholders from Nintendo are ever interested in whether or not a character is fun to play as? And guess what? The definition of fun is different depending on who you ask. So if it's not fun enough for Sakurai, then it won't jive with him. I think Corrin is a boring character. I think Bayonetta is monotonous and still insufferable. Pit and Marth are vanilla characters. So what made him think that female Marth and evil Pit were worth their own character slots? The hero's lone appeal is his randomizer, and at that he's completely overpowered. As for Banjo-Kazooie, I've yet to hear any good things about his moveset, and all the buzz for him fizzled out quickly. Meanwhile, there's fanbases who have still yet to buy your game because there are no characters that they resonate with. So that's all fun?
I want to make sure I present Terry to you in such a way that you can fully understand his appeal.
AKA, you're going to show us there was actually some creativity put into this character like with every character you are partial to.
So thank you. Okay, let's begin.
I'm going to skip the section up until the cameo characters, considering there is hardly anything of note that has to do with Sakurai. You'll probably get bored, too, considering you might have seen this a number of times by now.
By the way, there are guest characters in the background, right? Since we have the opportunity, I'd like to introduce them to you. First up, Andy Bogard. He's the adoptive brother of Terry Bogard. Both of them were adopted from an orphanage and raised by Jeff Bogard. However, while Terry's teacher was Jeff Bogard, Andy studied under Mai Shiranui's
He's telling us more about Andy than Terry. TMI.
father. He uses the Koppoken fighting style. Joe Higashi. He's one of the three main characters from earlier games in the Fatal Fury series. He's the only one that doesn't have any connection to Geese Howard. He's a Muay Thai champion. Tung Fu Ru. He's the master of the Holy Fist of 8 Ways, and he also trained Jeff Bogard. He can enlarge his body as well.
Has Sakurai ever gave these long descriptions to characters in the Persona stage? No. Just saying.
Billy Kane. He's been in many Fatal Fury games since the first one, and he's the right-hand man of Geese Howard. While he appears in the first game, his costume is based on his appearances in King of Fighters 97 onwards. You can't really see his back, but the no smoking symbol is definitely there.
Why even mention this? You're trying to lecture the children on Fatal Fury, yet somehow you assume that the same people know this character has a decal on the back of his jacket.
Geese Howard. He's the big boss of Southtown, and he's the rival of Terry Bogard. Falling off of buildings is his thing.
I'm pretty sure a character like this would not be standing right in front of the stage, especially if Terry were to be fighting. Could you imagine Shao Kahn out of his throne standing in the background along with Sonya Blade and Kung Lao?
Rock Howard. His first appearance was Garo, Mark of the Wolves. He's the son of Geese Howard, and Terry actually raised him. That means his appearance in this game at this age with that look doesn't really jive with the timeline, but Smash is kind of like that to begin with, right? Kim Kapwan. He uses Taekwondo and considers himself a fighter for justice. His Ho'okyaku is very famous. Ryuji Yamazaki. His first appearance was in Fatal Fury 3, and he's a criminal known as Dark Broker. He's very selfish and sadistic. Blue Mary. Her first appearance was in Fatal Fury 3 too. She uses Combat Sambo, and she's a good drinking buddy of Terry's. Those were the characters from the Fatal Fury series, but from here on, let me introduce characters from other series. Athena Asamiya. She's a Psycho Soldier. Psycho Soldier is a memorable game released around 1986, and it was the first title to feature a fully voiced theme song within the game. This epic song was also remixed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it was recorded in both Japanese and English. Music start. Kyo Kusanagi. He's the protagonist of the King of Fighters series, and he uses the ancient martial arts Kusanagi-ryu. Speaking of the protagonist, there are differences depending on which version you're talking about, like Orochi and Nest.
So Kim Kapwan again, basically.
Anyway, he is forever a school kid. Iori Yagami. Originally, he was introduced as Kyo Kusanagi's rival, but when I first saw this character in the game at the time, due to his look and attitude, I thought, whoever created this character must be a genius.
And all you can do is make cute animals and evil clones and you compare yourself to George Lucas.
Goro Daimon. He's a judo gold medalist belonging to the Japanese team, and he likes to throw his opponents. Chang Hohen and Choi Bonge. One is an escaped convict, and the other is a slasher.
So Midget Freddy Krueger. Why not put him in the Castlevania stage along with knockoff Frankenstein?
They are currently undergoing rehabilitation under the previously mentioned Kim Kapwan. Ralph Jones and Clark Still. Originally, they were main characters in the Ikari Warriors series before Neo Geo. They appeared as guests in the Metal Slug series too. Ryo Sakazaki, the protagonist of Art of Fighting. The original Art of Fighting was released just before Fatal Fury 2. That means it was the first game to implement a true super special move. How could I not include him? King. Her first appearance was in Art of Fighting, and she's a bouncer and bodyguard. She is a beautiful woman with an androgynous sense of style.
Oh, we just had to mention that. Chalk up another moral victory for Sakurai.
Next, Yuri Sakazaki. She was kidnapped in the first Art of Fighting game, but after that, she trained hard and mastered Kyokugen Karate in just 1 year. In other words, she's a genius. So, as you can see, we've included many characters, a total of 20 characters. You know, it's very cumbersome. I mean, it takes a lot of time. But so many people love each and every one of these characters, even outside the confines of their individual series, so we simply had to do our best by them. By the way, you may have noticed that a very important character from the Fatal Fury series was not included. Yes, Mai Shiranui. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is for good boys and girls of many different ages, so we decided not to feature her. Please forgive us.
So let me get this straight, this is okay, but this isn't? I get that her attire could be too provocative and would be a problem for the game's rating, but you took liberties with Bayonetta. And you designed Palutena to look this way. It's like this video was animated just for you. And you gave Princess Peach panties in Super Smash Bros. Melee and Brawl without Miyamoto's permission. So you are the last person to say which characters can and cannot appear because of their physical appearance. They simply could have just edited her attire, or even just put a bodysuit on her. But no, Sakurai cannot bother because he holds different characters to different standards. What a despicable liar.
Also, my music features a variety of tracks, and the music that plays affects which special guests will appear. For example, there's a track called Pasta, and when the music is playing, Andy Bogard will always appear. I hope you look forward to that as well. Okay, I'm done providing information.
There are 20 minutes left in the video and he's done with information.
So now let's jump into some actual battles. This time I'm going to play the Terry route of Classic Mode.
So he's just going to play the entirety of Terry Classic Mode. Because of course he is. Not like we want to explore the content on our own or anything like that. This is just a waste of time. Is anyone really interested in watching Sakurai play?
She's so good. That was a beautiful move. Terry Bogard is really fun to play as, so I hope you enjoy playing as him in such situations.
With all that you've shown, I could just simply choose not to buy the DLC now.
We did a lot of digging around, and finally managed to narrow our many candidates down to 50 songs. We never intended to do something like this, of course. So we submitted our 50 proposals to SNK, expecting them to pick out maybe 10 or 20 that they considered acceptable. But they told us they were okay. As a result, we've pretty much added in 50 songs.
So this is a foreshadowing. We'll get 100 Fire Emblem tracks in the next Super Smash Bros. Game.
Have a look at the list. That's how we ended up with the list we have, but we worked hard to deliver some of the best remixes. This was a very special one-off case, and I don't think we'll be able to do the same for other series. To be honest, I think that being able to hear such a selection might make the Fighter's Pass worth quite a bit more than its price. I do hope you'll enjoy it. Challenger Pack 4 comes with a Spirit Board too. The Spirit Board can be selected via the Spirits menu. Have a look at the background. If it looks familiar to you, you'll start feeling pretty nostalgic. Shinkiro-san's artwork is always so nice and vibrant, isn't it? You can also look forward to mock tournaments featuring each of the characters. That old school Athena and Ralph and Clark artwork really is something. Now for the Mii Fighters. Please have a look.
So I'm just going to say this right here, those leaks from a few days ago, I have to strongly assume are fake. The video that was shown was edited. Meh. I'll stick with SNK heroines. This could have been a generic Mew outfit. I can be hard to believe that among all the Japanese games that this would be the design of a main character. Surprise! Sakurai loves the crazy psycho character trope with the leather jacket and pompadour. Jackie and Akira were Mew outfits in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, so it should be expected that we'll get a few more.
Next, let's discuss the details of the updates. We've made some improvements to battle arenas. First, we're making it so you can send messages to each other in a battle arena. The messages are preset. So there's that, and also the player who created the arena can now change the rules. We've also added the option to play either Battlefield form or Omega form at random in the stage settings. Aside from that, you can now pick Elite only as an arena type. Furthermore, Quick Play won't be the only way to play with people you don't know. As long as the arena type is set to public and no password is set, we've made it so anyone is now free to join. So I hope you'll enjoy that.
How about we finally get to change the menu music? I know, that kind of like a nitpick, but we were able to do that in previous Smash Bros. Games.
Terry is due for distribution on November 6th. If you have the Fighter's Pass, you'll be able to get him straight away, or you can purchase him separately. Well, I think that wraps it up for our Terry Bogard showcase. I hope we were able to convey his appeal.
Actually, you didn't. Explaining everything about Fatal Fury doesn't make consumers care about Fatal Fury. If you've had to go through all these lengths to explain Terry and Fatal Fury throughout this video, then you clearly don't have faith that this is a marketable character in the first place. I mean, if this fifth character is going to be Akira Howard from Astral Chain, this is what I extremely expect as well, a super hour-long infomercial on Astral Chain rather than the actual DLC. It's been 4 months, the Switch has sold over 40 million units, and all the people there is to appeal to with this game have already bought it. What is a character in Smash Bros. Going to do that countless trailers haven't done?
By the way, his reveal trailer was aired in advance. It was created using SNK pixel art. The complete version of it, including the gameplay portion, is finally ready. I'd like to show it to you after this. Now this is something of an inside story, but I of course wrote the plot for SNK's pixel art packed reveal trailer. When the invitation comes out, you might recall how it says, "Don't be late, S." That is not what I wrote. It makes me think, ugh, this is why I hate inside jokes.
So Sakurai is late for work? That doesn't shock me. It feels like he can't do anything wrong and he won't get reprimanded for being late or anything he does or says.
After leaving it to the staff, it snuck its way in there. I just want you to know that the S is also the Super Smash Bros. Series S. Well then, let's move on to the intro movie.
This should have been at the very beginning of the video. It could have really showed Terry off without keeping viewers hanging for 10 minutes, talking about anything by Terry.
We crammed in a little too much content this time. Hopefully, I'll be able to make future showcases a little shorter.
What the fuck? Instead of apologizing that you're making this video too long, why not just edit the video to be shorter? If you know it's too long, why don't you cut it? I know why. Because he loves hearing himself talk, he loves being in the center of attention, he just loves being the star of the show. That is why he decided to do this kind of character video rather than before with Joker. He wants his face in front of a camera when he has no business doing so. And if people have a problem with what I am saying, tough shit. People constantly fall for his emotional manipulation, and the only reason why people treat him differently from other personalities in gaming is that he's the one who does this constantly. No, it's not the fact he's a hard worker, it's that he's a prima donna. So to summarize this video, Sakurai is a liar, a hypocrite, an egotist, and a prima donna. No, these aren't just baseless insults, he's proved he's all that here.